My name is Ndau Stewart, and also known as Amadlozi. That in Inhlengethwa ke leyo inhlanti lenkulu ngihamba nemndawo wami uthukhuthi wami uthupha wamabasa ngithi thokozani ngiyanivusela ngiyajabula ukuhlanganyela nani. This is the second lesson on the Ndau spirit. This lesson we're going to elaborate on the topic that we started last week. Thank you for your feedback that we got from the YouTube channel. I just wanted to highlight also the fact that we use the language that we are all comfortable, the languages that we are comfortable in, but we've received so much feedback from you guys about our language since we started the spiritual school. Last week's lesson was the 9th lesson. The first 3 lessons, everybody was complaining about us not using English, that we're using Siswati or our languages, and people are missing out on the lessons. And then last weekend, people are complaining that we're using English, and a lot of information is lost in translation because we are trying to speak this foreign language. You guys are going to have to bear with us. I actually pointed out that we actually are here to do the work that we do for our people, not to meet anybody's individual preferences, because then it wouldn't work. Everybody wants different things. So what we do, you take it or you leave it. Thokozani mkhulu Ibrahim, thank you for agreeing to join us today.
Thokozani gogo ninjani?
Siyaphila mntomdala, siyaphila Ndau. Siyajabula mkhulu bakhona vusela mkhulu.
Siyavusela wabasentla nasezantsi kusempumalanga entshonalanga eningizimu nasenyakatho nakuzo zonke indawo lapho kuthanyelwe lo mfanekiso oqoshiwe Afro CV nakuproducer wohlelo nakuwe gogo Simenjalo namadludi wakho wonke ngibingelele makhosi.
Makhosi sibusela kuwe makhosi nawe sithi Ndau wekhele.
When we're talking about Ndau spirit, we're actually talking about Ndau ancestral spirits. Ndau SNDAU ancestral spirits. So these are 2 weights in one. One, it's an ancestral spirit. It's a spirit noma umoya wabantu ogogo nomkhulu noma okhokho bethu abake baphila before. So Ndau define a clan or a tribe or a nation of the Ndau people. There are people called the Ndau people, which we find them in East Central Africa, mostly in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe, in Malawi, up to Zambia. And also in South Africa, we have the people that are the descendant of the Ndau people that are hidden under Amaswati and as well as Amatsonga or Amashangane, as they call them. But Amatsonga and Amashangane are 2 different people. So when we're talking about the Ndau ancestral spirits, we're talking about the spirit which is associated mostly with water, or we call them the river spirits or the water spirit in short. So the reason why this Ndau ancestral spirit, they're relating to us, it is because of somehow our history with the Ndaus, it stems deep from the historic background between the battle between the Ngunis and the Ndau people. The Ndau people, they are originally from the Karanga people. Some Ndaus, they know them as the people that are from the language called Isishona, you know. Isishona. The Ndaus, they are from the Shonas and all those things. But the Ndau, it's a combination of a language. So therefore, if it's a combination of a language, it simply means that the Ndaus are people that it's either they can be relating to us by blood, as it was Kaya, or they can relate to us outside of our own blood. Maybe like for an example, it was Pad. To some other people, for an example, when they have Ndau ancestral spirit, it is because of Itlozi Elisuga from Ikai. For an example, we understand Ostole or Jobega Machali as the Zulus, but also Ostole, they are also the Ndaus, for an example. And a lot of people, they don't know that. They even had a kingdom in the Ndau kingdom, you know, Ostole. So Ostole, you find out that if you're Ndau, for an example, the surname is Tole. Therefore, we will understand that it is in Ndau, Lelila Sekaya, which is in Ndau, which is blood related to you. And we will have in Ndau that will come to you because of they were married to your family, or they came here because of they were needed a refugee of some sort. Then that type of Ndau, maseligungena noma lihlozomela esidlozi or possessing you as a type of an ancestral spirit, it is because of it has a relationship with you or your family beyond before you were living. But that type of an ancestral spirit it is a foreign spirit. Why Kokos Menjalo, I need to point this out. It is because of there's a misnomer that in Ndau, it is a foreign spirit. I need to be clear. It could be foreign, it could be blood related to you, only if we understand our history. And the Ndau spirit, it has its own language. Ndau spirit speaks. Ndau spirit, when they speak Chindau Bayabereket. When we're talking about the Ndau, we're talking about an ancestral spirit that has its own initiation process. Linentwa soyalo, linendlela eligitsa ngayo, linendlela elilentuzana elisebenza ngayo, and linendlela elikhuluma ngayo, right? How does it speak? If one has Ndau ancestral spirits, it will definitely, one will dream of water. Those are the signs of a person that has Ndau ancestral spirits. They will either dream of water in the river or in the lake or somewhere. It's Ndau ancestral spirit. They will dream of snakes, you know, in Twati, the river snakes and all those things. But those snakes, when they come to a person, they embrace a person because of why they need to embrace a person, because of they possessing a person in that particular time. They do not become harmful. For an example, we call them like that. You will dream somebody that is dark in complexion and they speak a language that you don't understand. Most of the time you find out that those particular person, they're speaking the Chindau language because of the Chindau language. And therefore, you will find people that they will be, you will dream of white people, you will dream of Indians. Let me explain this. Why you need to dream of white people and also dream of Indians. Before the colonizers, they came to South Africa, they started in Mozambique. Then those were the Portuguese. The first people to colonize Mozambique were the Portuguese. That's why Portuguese as a language is the language of Mozambique. When they reached there, they made with black people, which when they made with black people, then they started to becoming their forefathers. That's why now, when you dream of Ebelungu Namandia, we will always say Ndau, you know, Ndau. That's how they communicate with you. If they work, they also work with herbs. One of the herbs that the Ndaus are using is called Ifembo. You know, they use it mostly for exorcism. Ifembo, umzere, and the different types of the Ndau herbs, they use them. But most of the time, the Ndaus, they prefer to use what we call it Ugufemba, from the word Gufembetwa. Gufembetwa, its origin is from Sishona language, meaning to sniff out. To sniff out, it's in African sense, when they sniff out, they were sniffing out the problem that you are having. They are using things the likes of like a hyena, for an example. They like a hyena in order to make sure that they move the process Ogufemba to accurately inhale the type of an ailment or a type of an ancestral spirit that is within you. So that is how the Ndau ancestral spirit actually works. So ukudensa kwakhona, ukudensa kwabo is different. They don't stand. When we do the Ndau ancestral initiation in South Africa, because of in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe, it is different. The people that are watching this live video from Zimbabwe, I have to accommodate them as well. In Mozambique, I have to accommodate them. Lapho liyama lisukuma ngeenyawo indawo ligide esifi ngathi kugida amanguni, you know, and also wearing different clothing than what we are wearing in terms of injeti, ipalo, ishiteli mhlophe, and all those things. Okugqoka amabhanzi, amazengere, and all those things. It is different. Because of for us, when we bow down, Mndawe ongene thina ama-South Africans specifically, when we bow down, ukuzwe masileke sihlehla, sidlala ngekhanda kanje, it is because of we are asking for a unity between the battle that took place in a place called Musapa. In Musapa, it is a place whereby there was a bloody battle between the Ngunis, led by the Swati people, and as well as the Ndau. And the people, a lot of people died. And a lot of people has to go through the river called the Musapa River. That is why the Ndau ancestral spirit, Sizwe Parulela Gopi, Emanzini, because of we believe that that is how it came to become an ancestral spirit, Emanzini.
Thokoza Gogo, that was a lot. That is a mouthful. But you broke down so much. The relationship between the Ndau and the Shona has always been very interesting to me, or for me. But yeah, and you actually went into that. They are very closely related, like you say, because I know that there's just not actually one people, but they are very closely related. And then you speak also, you speak mainly of how it's so important that one knows their background, how you know that one knows their lineage. That is that we don't know much about where we come from, because a whole lot of this information has been not just lost in translation. Nobody has. It's also because we do not document, and a lot of our stories our history was oral, and now the family structure has been broken down so much by industrialization and in many other things that as a society, it was so much easier to know, because the information was handed down through the generations. But because we've broken away, we've lost ourselves. So it's to be able to to know and to understand the spirits that we are speaking of, particularly today, the Ndau spirit. It is also, and the dreams, because you speak of the dreams and the things that happen in your dreams that will make you see that you actually have the spirit. It is important also to try to connect the dots by finding out our history, or just going back to find out as much as you possibly can, because because of all the battles and everything, we all have. I'm coming back to the fact that the point that you made about it being a foreign spirit and also it being a blood spirit, a blood ancestor. I'm coming back to that because asisugi la. So we're not just from here, and we're not from 4 generations back. We come back a long way, and there's been life. So as a single basha, that is so it speaks to how it could also be viewed as foreign, but it actually is blood, because we also do not know where we're coming from. We cannot account for all the generations that make us up. And then you speak of the water. I want to ask specifically also about. I'm going to speak of the Ndau, for instance, which is the dolphin, and so my totem would be is a dolphin. My totem is a dolphin. So that relates me to all things sea related. We're coming to the diet now. So it's how it's now. If you now dream of, if you have this loti, this ancestral loti of the Ndau, how do you conduct yourself around things of the water, the water spirits, the water animals, the food, the herbs, the water itself? How do you relate? Some people, because there'll be people who say they are scared to go to the water because they are water people, and there'll be people who actually are just drawn to the water because they are water people. Some are scared because they're going to disappear, and some believe that is actually where they go to rejuvenate and to find themselves again.
Thokoza Gogo, ngiyabonga. Before I go there, I just wanted to touch on something I think that came into my mind. Okay. It will be wrong of me not to touch on it. The word Ndau is from the Ndau word, right? Meaning a lion. In Shona, they say it's Shumba. In Shona, they say it's Shumba. Ndau, it means a lion, you know. If you can look at the initiation process, most of the time, this here, we call it Ingonyama, you know, that has the picture of a lion. It's very native to many South African healers because of the Ndau ancestral spirit in it, you know. Ingonyama is related to Ndau when I talk about the animal totem of the Ndau. And therefore, a water animal, you know, when we're talking on the issues of, for an example, not all water animals are related to the Ndaus. If, for an example, if you dream of crocodiles, you understand, you find out that it's related to more with other ancestral spirits, you understand, but that are related with water, you understand. Then there's a snake. Now, when a person sees a snake, I normally make a joke with my tossers and say to them, if you are seeing a snake when you're going to the river, you understand, you see a snake from that side, it's going through the water. Please be conscious. Don't say, Ndawe, Ndaraman, because of you might be seeing an ancestral spirit and it sees an early lunch, you understand, or a morning breakfast, because of you are not aware. To say a snake, it's a snake. And an ancestral spirit is an ancestral spirit. The symbol of a Ndau is that of a snake, but the Ndau is not a snake. I don't know if you understand. The symbol of a Ndau, it's a snake, but the snake is not a Ndau. Ndau, it's an ancestral spirit that belongs to a human being that once lived. Might be choosing a symbol of a snake for a certain reason, because of a snake is the king of the water, and the Ndaus, they are from the lineage of the kings themselves. Remember, Uguti, the Ndaus, they are the combination of the Ngonis, they are the combination of the Shona, they are a combination of the Baronga people. The Baronga people, today we call them the Bavenda people. That's why most of the time, these Ndau ancestral spirits will possess a lot of people from the Ngunis, the Shonas, and as well as the Venda people, because of it is from the Batsonga. Also, they are part of the Ndaus. In fact, there is a clan amongst the Tsonga people which are controlled by the Ndau people. So now when we're talking about water, if you go to, for an example, if a person...
We're talking about the Ndau, and because we are just breaking it down there. But see, in Zimbabwe, they're called the Ndau. In Mozambique, yes, they're called Ndau as well. In Zulu, they are called
Dlamini.
In Zulu, the Ndau are called Dlamini in Zulu and Siswati. Those are the Ndau. This is that I was actually taught by Umkhulu Venda. In Venda, they are called Mndawe. Okay? In Shaman, they are called Mndawe. That in Tswana, they're Ndau or Motlawung. And in Soto, they're Motlawung. And all of it, really, is lion, shumba, pubesi. It all relates to that Silwane. So yeah, I'm going back to that lesson that I actually learned in Venda, and when we were going through. But yeah, we're just relating how we relate as an African people, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, how we actually relate and how our ancestral spirits relate. So I thank you for bringing it up, so that it's a thing that really we actually all need to understand, that these things are not far-fetched. They're not far-fetched. They are actually a part of us. So yeah, what hit me was the Dlamini, that because as until it and the Motlawong. So it also comes back to a whole language situation, and also about learning about your lineage and about our history as an African people down the side of Africa. Togoza
Kok. When it comes to the issue of Ndau, Ndau ancestral spirit with water, you know, there is something that I must say. People confuse this these two spirits, Ndau and Inzunza, they are all water spirits. And you cannot not, in anyhow, Inzunza yakho iphakame kungenandau. I don't know if you are aware of. Inzunza yakho ngeke iphakame kungenandau. You understand? Yes, because of both of these, they are somewhat interrelated, somewhat somehow. But I'm not going to talk about Inzunza. I'm going to stick on Ndau today. Yes, in Ndau, you understand, most of the time when we go to the water, you understand, we are speaking with different type of ancestors. We are speaking to Manono. There you find them in the water. There is Isimbiwa Manzini, as they call it in KZN. Isimbiwa Manzini, it's ilentuza numlozi wasemanzini. It is not Ndau, and we have Ndau ancestral spirit as well. So therefore, what we are basically using in order when we go there, we use white and the red, ukoloko bumhlophe nobubomvu. I think white is vodka and red is brandy. Most of the time when we invoke the ancestral spirit in the water. And most of the time they work with chickens. The Ndau ancestral spirits, they work with chickens because of their culture. As the Ndau people, they've always worked with chickens. The Ngunis, they work with a 4-leg animal. That's how we differ. But for the Ndaus, they always work with 2-leg animals. One is chicken, mostly white chicken most of the time when they do that, you know. So when we connect with them Masio Pasha, we carry this thing as an offering for them. If it's your landa issues, you will carry that as well. And there is something called Shirombe, you know. It sounds like Venda, of course, like I've said that the Ndau language has the terms that are interrelated with a Venda and the Songas as well. Sometimes we do not understand the difference between the Chindau language and the Sitong, and this is big. Sitsonga is Sitsonga, Chindau is Chindau, Venda is Chivenda. So when we're going to go Siolanda issues, what is called Uguparula. Now some they say Ugupalula, ne? Uguparula is whereby Uyolanda issues emanzini. It is because of need to use chickens all the time. There is nowhere in my own knowledge and in my own years as a healer that have trusted issues Mndawe in that sense, no, came across legally sebenzise imbuzi or imbuzi or imvu or inkomo or whatsoever in anyhow. You understand? And even from the Ndau people who are my friends, who are healers, because unfortunately to be having the people that are speaking the language, that are actually teaching me the language as well, because of it's unfair of me to have Ndau ancestral spirit and not knowing the language as well. So I must learn the language, which every healer must do it in a way, because of when you parula, you must know if Ndau will come and speak that language, how to answer. That is the only fair thing. So the water, as I've said, that people were died in Musapa, and therefore they have to, their spirits, as we know, that if people die in the river, you understand, ukulanda umoya noma umphefumulo does not work in the water. So therefore that water, those spirits will remain in water and they become one of the water spirits. So Ndau, that's how it came to be a water spirit. And most of the time, masingena kuona siyawucela so that uzokwazi ukusebenzisana nani nenzunza neminye imimoya engaphakathi. That's why we will say mawahlangane amadlozi wonke asemanzini, because of not only Ndau, it's a water spirit, but there's more into a water spirit, including the Nguni ancestral spirit, which are made of those abantu who drowned when they were swimming in the river, then they died there. But umayabo remained there, which could be the Nguni ancestral spirit as well.
Thokoza mkhulu. Mkhulu, I'm going to ask you to speak now on how, as a Gobela, when you have a Twasa who is the Ndau spirit, you would train that Twasa to be able to work with the Ndau spirit, how you would be able to teach them to Femba. How do you, because you actually Twasisa, how do you conduct that lesson or that training before you actually get to Parula?
Okay, Thokoza Gogo. The training of Ndau ancestral spirits, the first and foremost, it could be in two ways. One is that we are shayelwa kukatshekwe so that they can know that there's a Ndau ancestral spirit. The other one is whereby a Gobela, him or herself, will perform what is called ugufemba, you know, in order to know the type of ancestral spirit which are inside there. But it depends of iziko neziko or impande nempande yamandau. I personally, as uShobel Khuluka Simelani, I prefer ukulshayela idlozi, which is ugu gacheka. So, sorry, sorry, yes. So ugu gacheka again, I prefer ugu gacheka. Ugu gacheka is whereby we will use a certain types of sacred motifs or herbs, for an example, to create what is called ibaso. So that herb will enhance the type of ancestral spirit within the Ndaus. And those herbs are the herbs that are used by the Ndau people in order to attract the Ndau ancestral spirit. Exactly. And that is where now igama lizoqala liphume, for an example, lithi mase liphuma lelo gama lalelo Ndau lelo and all those things, we will start questioning, you know, irregardless of the language you use. If you were questioning in the Ndau language to say ungubani uhlobana kanjani nalo muntu, you will do so. If you are using your own Sotho or Tswana language, you will do so, but it will give you an answer. Because of all languages, all the ancestral spirits, they understand different languages. This is one history that was missing, to say how did the old people in the past communicated with people of different languages. It is because of they understood what the white man says, but they had to explain it in Zulu. They have to answer in Zulu or speak to that particular person in Zulu, and that person will see to say bayangizwa, but they cannot communicate, and then they have to come and try to speak the language called isifanakalo. Isifanakalo, it came in that sense, you know, the language is fanakalo, because of they understood what they said. You understand? That is the power of having ancestral spirits. They understand all languages. Then uma umntwana ethwasiswa ichindau, there are certain things that a person must wear. Like I've said, they have their own initiation process. Firstly, they must wear amashita mhlophe. Some they wear amashita mnyama. I know what this becomes like a shock, but from the people in Mpumalanga, they will know what I'm talking about when I talk about ishita mnyama related to Ndau or somebody about Guosana in Zimbabwe. They will understand the significance of a black sheep. But here specifically in South Africa and specifically in our areas, we use ishita mhlophe and the nebai or here that we called it injeti. And the flowers, yes, the one that you are having, the one I'm having also today, the flowers that are here on injeti, they are actually the signs of what is called ifembo, which is omoti. These are the flowers of ifembo. So this NJT will come in different colors as well. There is one that is maroon and there is one that is red. I don't know about the other colors, but I will talk about only these two. The other one will define the type of an ancestral spirit, if it's from Zimbabwe or the other one is from Mozambique. Because of the Ndau people, they were from Zimbabwe and Mozambique in the olden time. you know. So then they would become divided when the borders were placed in. So the other one, they fall to this side, the other one, they fell to that side. But the other one, the maroon one, will represent Ndau that are from Zimbabwe. The red one will be from Mozambique. But they are all the Ndaus. They speak the same language, but somewhere in the Ndau language, there's different dialect as far as I know. Thokoza Koko.
Thokoza Mkhulu, thank you so much. I learned something there, specifically about, yeah, just the dress. I'm one of those that are actually surprised about the black. I have actually seen it, and I just have not had the opportunity to sit down with somebody to actually interrogate what it is and what it actually means. And also, Mkhulu, when you started on dress, at some point you mentioned that people with this Ndau spirit don't all dress in the same way. Because if we go back now to Zimbabwe, in as much as they may use cloth and they still actually do prefer skins. The Ndau people with the Ndau ancestral spirits, they still prefer to use to wear skin instead of cloth.
Yes.
And they also do. You mentioned also that they do not work on and dance, or they do not work on their knees or dance on their knees. That also I want to reiterate, because that is truth. Their dance is totally different. Even their song and rhythm is not what we would see and witness here. So the differences are there. And it's actually good to note, so that I think at some point we will get to a point where we actually get to Zimbabwe to get to document this, because it's interesting to watch and to note the differences, and so that we also know what is what, and so that also the thing to understand is that spirit is spirit. We like, as a people, we like to box things and to say that things work in this way because this is what we have been taught, and when we have not actually explored. So it's a space that is actually really open to interpretation and open to, there's so much knowledge still to be gained from that space, is what I am saying. And also to actually always note that a spirit is actually amazing. We can never say that we know everything that needs to be known about any particular spirit. So all we can actually share and teach are the things that have been revealed to heal us, and experiences as well, which is why it's actually important to actually document these things, because then we just will never know, and we will live with all these limitations. Thokoza Mkhulu. You want to speak, Mkhulu, on Kuparula? Thank you so much for that explanation about how you actually train, how Bantwana would be trained on Ndau. Yes, on the Bantwana who come, Bantwana Baselozini who actually come to Twasa, who have the Ndau spirit, how that works. Please, do you want to speak on the Parulo itself? You actually have touched on it. I appreciate the lesson on how the Ndau, the animals that they use, that they prefer to use birds instead of four-legged animals. That is, and that would actually also go into explaining how then we Parula. But is there anything else that you would want to add on the Parula process without taking away from the sanctity of the ritual?
Okay. Thomas. The only thing that I can speak in terms of Uguparula is the issue of saying Uguparula, it is like Ugupotula in Tuaso Yomdau. It is part of Ugupotula in Tuaso Yomdau. It is more of a completion stage of Intuaso Yomdau. Like I've said that Ugutwasa Yomdau, it is Ndau ancestral spirit, it is not the same as Ugutwasa Amanye Amadlozi. So when a person goes and Parula, is whereby a person goes and reconnect with Amadlozi wa Mndawe emanzini. It is done in the river, and that type of a river must be specific. That type of a river has to be a river with clean and pure water, the very same color of water that was giving you a problem as a sign of having a Ndau ancestral spirit, not amanzi adungekile. Not dark waters, but amanzi ahlanzekile akhanyayo. And that type of water where you parula as well, it needs to be the water that is actually kungasi amanzi alwayo. Ngoba amandawo abantu bokuthula. It has to be water that is similarly stagnant. Very clean water, so that when you go and parula there, uphuma namadlozi azokwazi ukuthi aphume nokuthula, to come out in a peaceful manner. Because of we all know that idlozi leNdau, it is the most dangerous type of an ancestral spirit. When it possesses you, it creates a lot of problems because of it sits laba bafundile bathi it dwells more into the navel up to the root chakras. Sengisifundile slow now. And navel to the sacral to the root chakras. Kulapho I-operator khona the place of Ndau ancestral spirits. So liyahlupha kakhulu if things are not done correctly. You will find yourself, after you have initiated, you came out, you go at home, you still having the problem because of these minor things that we're not taking them into seriousness in terms of the type of water whereby mele uparu. And the other thing as well is that most of the time you dream of that type of a river as a twasa. I may have 2 twasas or 3 twasas, but one twasa will dream of this particular river. As a Kobela, myself, if I do justice, I must make sure that where is this river, where can I get it? You understand? Than using the same river for all these 3 people. Because of somewhere, somehow, there might be a problem. Unless, if it happens that appeal with them to say, this is the only river I am having in this area that I feel it is good, but we cannot compromise the type of water. It has to be clean, stagnant, and that water must be the one. Because of they've called you all along before you go to a Kobela in your dreams, or when you are inside a Kobela, to a certain dream, to the certain river through a dream, to say, this is where we want to be picked up. Ngoba phela lapho is like ngathi siyolanda amadlozi. You understand? They tell us their venue, we must honor their venue so that Ndau womuntu can be in a good sense. Thokoza.
Thokoza, okay. Wow, that's quite a bit. I have, okay, there's questions here. Let me ask these questions before I come to my question. There's a question here about Guti, would you go to Twasisa? Is it possible to Twasa Ndau with Ugobela who has spirits besides Ndau?
The question is not possible, Koko Simenjalo, and the person that asked that question, it's not possible. You cannot want to study, for an example, you cannot want to study podiatry, you know, from somebody that is a cardiologist, you know. Last we call about healing. You cannot study the knowledge of knowing how to specialize on healing legs, being a podiatrist, from a cardiologist, it's not possible. A person that needs to twasisa you Ndau must be the one that has twasat Ndau as well. Must be the one that actually even have the name of Ndau ancestral spirit. Like for an example, my name of Ndau ancestral spirit that I'm having, Shobel Kulu Emangunin, Shobel Kulu Similar. My ancestral name of the Ndau is nyamsoroka mapikita. So you must have Ndau ancestral spirit, that you have twasat, that you have parulat, that you have completed the process and did appease that type of an ancestor so that you can be able to initiate somebody's ancestor. Ngoba leli dloti le Ndau kumele likhuliswe elinye indawo elikuwe esegobela. If you don't have it, lizokhuliswa yini? You don't know.
Thokoza, you explained that very well. Actually, there's actually no other question. There's no other way that question can be phrased.
Yes.
It also explains why it is normal in the Kobela space to take to share. I don't know if it's called, the word would be to share, but to take abantwana who have spirits that the Kobela has not initiated in to their peers or colleagues or khona lampandeni. Ordinarily it would be done lampandeni. Kuthi lampandeni lanikhule khona lampandeni, you actually take your children bayothwasiswa umfowenu who actually has trained or has that spirit in them. So it's a common thing, Bokoko. I'm just trying to explain that na lakaya ungafika lakaya utothwasa, and then you find that there are other spirits that actually come up when you're already la ephehlweni, and that the Kobela would not be able to address. But it does not mean then that your process is wrong. It just means that the Kobela is it's up to the Kobela to find somebody that can actually, or your Hloti can actually speak to find ukuthi ngubani lokufute ukuthi akufundzise or who's supposed to help you that whatever spirit it is that the Kobela has not trusted in. Thokoza mkhulu.
Yes. Thokoza Koko. Kunjalo, if you are having a type of an ancestral spirit, when you initiate a person, it needs to be in sync with what you're having, you know, at most time. Like for an example, sometimes you find you go to a phehlweni, for an example, you go in Twasa, idlozi lakho, then mawudli gobongo kuqubuka nani nethunywa laba babathandaza. Some kuqubuka isithunywa that is sebandla, that is church related. Then there's the one that is not church related, that we call it isithunywa selentuzana senkaba. You understand? When you go to church, you have problems. But when you go to the mountain, to the river and something, then you find out it becomes appeased. So for me, if I don't know this, is it true? You understand? I must make sure that I relate or I send somebody to somebody that knows it. Because of, like I said, you cannot master everything. Abantwana esibathwasisayo, they have different types of ancestral spirits. You know, a lot of them have a different type of ancestral spirit. And it's only fair that you apply that. You refer them, you tell them to say, get somebody that will help you with this. I don't know about umlozi usebenza kanjani, so I should not take chances with the life of somebody else. I must say, this is how you communicate with your ancestors. Let them show you who is the person that will assist you on this segment. Ngoba umlozi anyway awuthwasiswa kodwa ulungiselwa ngendlela ethile, you know. But there are people that knows that others do not know. So it is best for that particular child or particular twasa of yours to assist ukuthi akwazi ukuthi ukukhula kukathwasa wakho ukukhula kwakho nyanga. Makaba ubaba thwethwasa wena uba umkhulu kulabo bantwana. Thokoza.
Wow. Another question here, Mkhulu. It's imagine, is it possible to have 3 Ndaus? This one
to have 3 Ndaus.
Have 3 Ndau spirits.
Yes, it is possible. It is possible. You can have a Ndau ancestral spirit even from both of your families, from the maternal and the paternal side of the family. You know, for an example, there is somebody that is Mabasa. You know, your father is Mabasa. They have the lineage of the Ndaus from somewhere there and all those things. Then there's maybe your father is Sitole. Your father is Mabasa and your mother is Sitole. So both of these people, their lineage clicks to the Ndaus. So definitely, there could be Mama, which already makes it 2. And there is one else of Mela, which can make it 3. It's possible, Togos.
Togos, okay. Togos, I'm good. See if there are any more questions. Please also speak on sharks and seals. And is it possible to have the Ndau spirit both maternal and paternal side? Yes, you have responded to that. Somebody was really wanting for you to speak more on the black sheet. The black sheet.
Thokoza Gogo. A black sheet is also used in the Ndau initiation processes as well. The black sheet actually symbolizes the power, you know. Linamandla lela sheet. Because of most of the time, something that is black, you understand, it has its own mystical and occultic powers, but not occultic in a sense of witchcraft or something like that. In our spirituality, same goes to ikandlela elimnyama. Ikandlela elimnyama lidonsa yonke imimoya, you understand, even the Amadlozi wako, but you must know how to use a black sheet, how to use a black candle in order to channel good spirits because of lidonsa noma yini in that sense. So the black sheet is normally used for umuntu indawo lakhe malinenkinga lingadonseki kahle. Therefore, in that time, maseliba nenkinga kakhulu, we use that black sheet. But I cannot give the detail to say how do we put it, how do we apply it. Then in indawo lomuntu likwazi ukuthi liphakame kahle ngoba maselihlupa, we use the powerful type of a color. You understand? Simbathisa lona besimphakamisela inidluzi lendawo using that black sheet. That's why I'm saying that is very native to the people who are initiating in Mpumalanga and as well as in Zimbabwe. Thokoza.
Thokoza, Mkhulu. Mkhulu, I'm going to ask something now that it's not here, but it's a question that I have specifically. I don't know what information you would have on it. These are the Mnisi people. The Mnisi people in Swaziland, there's a dam that is specifically for these guys. It's called Manjolo. It's called Manjolo Dam. And in there, now I'm just relating now the water spirit and umlambo and all those things that are those dangerous things that the spirits in the water, the things that are supposed to live in the water. I know there's mermaids and the things that would steal you or take you away, or because there's so many things said about the waters. I would like for you to speak on that, but also I would like to, if you do have any information on the Mnises and that dam, or okay, not necessarily the Mnises, but there's spaces in which some people cannot go into because they will be taken. Not just that their spirits will be taken, they will be taken, they will not return, they will be gone for us to never see again because they went into the wrong spaces. I'd like you to speak on that in relation to the Ndau spirit.
The sacred places of the Ndaus I might not know, and as well of the Mnisis as well. I think it is something that I personally need to make a research on it in order to reply to it next time if the question comes in, or maybe talk about it somewhere somehow as soon as I find the information, because of the information that I'm having is limited, which is bound to grow more because of, as we said, that our tradition is oral, like you said. Most of the things were not documented. And most of the things, imikhuba kunesiko lakhona. When I say imikhuba, I mean it is something done by people which are not culturally based and was put into our own culture and becomes like a culture when it is not actually a culture. It is something eyumkhuba, like here, for an example, as you've spoken. The njeti here, you understand, that we are having, it is something that were brought to us by the Indians when they did it, you know, and they selling to us. But therefore, the Ndaus have their own way, the ancient way, which are animal, skins that they used to wear. Similarly, like every other nation, we cannot claim to say ingubo eyebesuthu, umkhoba wabesuthu oyisiko labesuthu mara umkhoba. Same goes to Injeti as well. So I don't know. I will find out in terms of that, and I'll make research. Thank you.
Okay, no. Speak also then, Mkhulu. Not thank you for that response, but please do speak of these water creatures that actually steal people.
You know, the water creatures, let me say in the water, for an example, there's lot and lot of deities, you know, and a lot of entities that are there inside the water. Some are good, some are not good. But the one that actually steals people most of the time are not good spirit at all. Are not good spirit at all. Irregardless to say, if somebody, for an example, is being taken by that, and we will say it was Ilimtatil and all that, it is not true, it's untrue. Those types of ancestral spirits, most of the time, those types of water spirit, to say that are doing that, they are not related with ancestral spirit. Unless, for an example, as I've said, they are deities. It is the example. You see, Ulwandle does not like, is not in favor of drunkenness, you know. If utagiwe uyongena ulwandle, you are likely ukuthi you will find yourself drowned or dead because of it does not like that. That's why we will say ulwandle alizwani nokungcola. Not saying that alcohol ukungcola. I'm just making an example. If you are impure and uyongena ulwandle wazi ukuthi you are using imithi engekho right, you are likely to be swallowed by ulwandle. And we cannot say we cannot specifically say uthathwe abantu abadala. No, we would say uthathwe imimoya yasemanzini because of ulwandle liyayiphilela ngokwalo. You understand? And then now linama rules swallow on its own. If you anger it, then it will deal with you. You understand? Sometimes, for an example, there are certain dams whereby there are giant snakes there, physical giant snakes that are living there peacefully. And when you go in their own territory, when you go into their own territory, you are bound to be swallowed. You are bound to be harmed by a certain animal like that. And that cannot be interrelated to Amadlozi when it is nature the way it is.
You also then you spoke of the fact that it affects the root chakra, right? And yes. It also affects, I'd like you to actually speak on that, on how, just elaborate on how the Ndau spirit actually rules sexuality and reproduction, and how, yes, towards
how it affects from the navel to the root chakra.
Yes,
you know, when you are having...
It affects sexuality and reproduction and how...
Definitely.
Yes, okay, towards.
Definitely, it will affect you. It will affect the fertility in you. For an example, you cannot give birth. When you cannot give kids, when you go to the doctors, they will tell you to say, we don't see anything medically wrong about you. You are supposed to be getting kids as much as you want. You don't have fibroids if you are a woman, for an example. It is because of the Ndau, you understand, can affect the diet as well. If, for an example, a person normally has endowed ancestral spirit, their diets become abnormal. You find somebody craving for soil without knowing. You know, like umuntu okhulelwe eating a lot of soil, and they will prefer the muddy soil most of the time, not understanding what it symbolizes. It symbolizes that there is a water spirit that needs its own food because of this. There's a certain type of soil that become the part and parcel of imithi Mndawe ekhulisa Mndawe ekobongweni. You know, so it shows that we are already here. We need to eat You find somebody becomes hungry, you cook food, then when you finish up cooking, when you want to eat, you find out that you cannot eat, but you will eat soil because of why, you know, it affects even your low spine part, whereby you know, it is because of the Ndau. That's why we, when we initiate the issue of the Ndau ancestral spirit, uma silentuzana sihlehla Ndau noma sugida, umzimba wonke uyasebenza in order to unlock or unblock all the chakras in your body, because of Ndau attacks the critical part of your body, which is the sacral and up to the root chakras, which whereby it will even stop you from having children moving forward. Thokoza.
Thokoza, and you can actually lose children if you do not understand what actually is going on. Thokoza Mkhulu, we've come actually to the very end. Thank you so much to everybody that joined us. Thank you so much, Mkhulu. It's always an honor.